What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss everything going on here in our country that you need to know about here on a daily basis. The world is bracing for a potential nuclear attack. Check this out. Russia has abandoned their Ukrainian positions in some regions. A Putin ally suggests that this may be because a nuclear response is coming and that they might be clearing out because they might be dropping a nuke. Here's the details on this. Russia said on Saturday its troops had abandoned a key bastion in occupied eastern Ukraine, a stinging defeat that prompted one of Vladimir Putin's most hawkish allies to call for Russia to consider resorting to low-grade nuclear weapons. The fall of Lyman came just a day after Putin proclaimed the annexation of 4 Ukrainian regions and now just claimed them as Russian territory and placed them under Russia's nuclear umbrella at a ceremony that was condemned by Kyiv and the West as an illegitimate farce. Russia's defense ministry said, quote, in connection with the creation of a threat of encirclement, Allied troops were withdrawn from the settlement of Krasny Liman to more advantageous lines. The statement ended hours of official silence from Moscow after Ukraine first said it had surrounded thousands of Russian troops in the area and then that its forces were inside the town of Lyman. The leader of that region, who describes himself as a foot soldier of Putin, said he felt he had to speak out after the loss of the territory, saying, quote, in my personal opinion, more drastic measures should be taken, right up to the declaration of martial law in the border areas and the use of low-yield nuclear weapons. Other top Putin allies, including former President Dmitry Medvedev, have suggested that Russia may need to resort to nuclear weapons. But Kradyev's call was the most urgent and explicit. Putin said last week he was not bluffing when he said he was prepared to defend Russia's territorial integrity with all available means, and on Friday made clear this extended to the new regions that Moscow has claimed. Washington says it will respond decisively to any use of nuclear weapons and has spelled out to Moscow the catastrophic consequences it would face. Here's what President Biden had to say about these elections that Russia held basically by gunpoint to the Ukrainians, saying, do you want to vote to be part of Russia? And then Russian officials went back and counted them on their own and said, oh, Russia's the winner. Take a listen.
Also speak to Mr. Putin's remarks this morning. You know, America and its allies are not going, let me emphasize, are not going to be intimidated, by Putin and his reckless words and threats. He's not going to scare us, and he doesn't, or intimidate us. Putin's actions are a sign he's struggling. The sham referenda he carried out and this routine he put on, don't worry, it's not on there if you're looking, okay? The sham routine that he put on this morning that's showing the unity and, you know, as people holding hands together. Well, the United States is never going to recognize this. And quite frankly, the world's not going to recognize it either. He can't seize his neighbor's territory and get away with it. It's as simple as that. And they're going to stay the course. They're going to continue to provide military equipment so that Ukraine can defend itself and its territory and its freedom, including additional resources that the Congress is going to give me today of $13 billion more to help the Ukrainians defend themselves and fight back. And we're fully prepared to defend. I want to say this again. America is fully prepared with our NATO allies to defend every single inch of NATO territory. every single inch. So, Mr. Putin, don't misunderstand what I'm saying. Every inch.
Yeah, so what will happen? Will we wake up here in the next day or two or three or week or two and find out that Putin did, in fact, drop a nuke on parts of Ukraine, or now this new parts of Russia that he just claimed as land of his own, but cleared out? Um, and then what? Then what happens? What happens to the stock market here in the US and around the world? What happens next? Is this the start of World War III? Does the US get involved? Does NATO get involved? Also, there's some new news here that says these two types of student loans aren't eligible for forgiveness. New guidance says. Here's the details on this. As of Thursday, borrowers with student loans through the Federal Family Education Loan, the FFEL program, and Perkins loans who have not already consolidated their debt into direct loans will now no longer be able to do so and are no longer eligible for federal debt relief, the Education Department says. Those programs, though federally guaranteed, are held by private institutions. Borrowers with FFEL and Perkins loans who apply to consolidate in the direct loan program before Thursday are still eligible for debt relief. I know that's confusing to me. You can, if it's confusing to you, let me know your thoughts here. At this point, the Education Department is assessing whether there are alternative pathways to provide relief to borrowers with federal student loans not held by the Education Department, including the FFEL program loans and Perkin loans, and is discussing this with private lenders, the department says on its website. The department hasn't explained the reason for the change, which came the day after 6 Republican-led states sued the Biden administration over the student loan debt relief, which is $10,000 for students earning less than $125,000 and $20,000 for students who received Pell Grants but also have student loans. Those are for the lowest income students. Also, a federal judge denies student debt cancellation lawsuit after the Education Department clarifies its plan. We have 6 Republican-led states suing the Biden administration over the student loan forgiveness plan. So the Biden administration might be tweaking the wording to make sure that it goes through for approximately 43 million Americans. So this is now a legal battle to make sure that millions of Americans get some type of help. But a federal judge denied a challenge to President Biden's student debt forgiveness plan filed by the Pacific Legal Foundation, which became the first organization to challenge Biden administration's move to forgive up to $20,000 in student debt per borrower, alleging it is illegal because Congress, which holds the power of the purse, did not approve it. We know that that's not always the case because you can do this through executive order as well, just like former President Donald Trump did. The group filed the suit on behalf of one of its attorneys, alleging he would suffer irreparable harm because the plan would automatically forgive his debt and force him to face state tax liability. Well, that's a bit of a stretch because there are a few states that would potentially make you pay taxes on the debt that you would be forgiven. Congress has already passed a law that said any federal taxes would be waived on any student loan forgiveness. So there will be no federal taxes. There are a few states that would or could, states are actually determining now if they're going to waive it as well. There are some states that might tax the waived forgiveness, basically, but it would still be much less than the amount you would pay in the actual debt. Okay, so if you get $10,000 to $20,000 in student loan debt, it's sure going to be less than the amount you would pay in the state taxes. Here, take a look. These states could tax Biden's student loan debt relief. Mississippi, North Carolina, and Indiana plan to levy state taxes on federal student loan forgiveness, while decisions in Wisconsin, West Virginia, Minnesota, California, and Arkansas were in flux as of Friday. California has came out with a statement saying that if and when this officially goes through in paperwork, and once they see the wording, that they would pass a law to make it so that California would not have taxes. They said something along those lines. Most other states are taking their cue from the federal government. Through January 2026, the Internal Revenue will not count discharged student debt as taxable income. So, for example, here, the Revenue Department of Indiana, which has a state rate of 3.2%, estimates that residents could pay $323 for $10,000 in student loan forgiveness, or $646 and $20,000 if you're a Pell Grant recipient. So what would you rather pay? Would you rather pay the $10,000 in student loan debt that's going to be forgiven? Or would you rather pay $323 in state taxes? I think you'd rather have the $10,000 forgiven and pay $323 than rather pay $10,000 and interest on top of that, which is really going to end up being $15,000, $17,000, maybe even $20,000, depending on how long it takes you to pay it off, then pay $323. So anybody saying that this is irreparable harm to you is really trying to blow smoke up your, well, right? But this judge denied the motion after the Department of Education updated its website to clarify that no one would be forced to take part in the debt forgiveness. A clarification that came after the department cast the lawsuit as baseless for claiming that they would. So you can see that the legal battles are already heating up. Quote, if you would like to opt out of debt relief for any reason, including because you are concerned about a state tax liability, you will be given the opportunity to opt out. So if you'd rather pay the $10,000 in student loan debt instead of pay the $323 in state taxes, you're more than welcome to do so. Yeah, this is how ridiculous these Republican lawsuits are to try to not help out 40 some million Americans. And remember, I don't have student loans. We've already paid ours off. I just think that this is a great help to over 40 million Americans, whether it's you, your brother, your sister, your relatives, your friends. Remember, they're not raising any taxes to do this. This is basically just a stimulus check type program for over 40 million Americans. So it's like when they give SNAP raises, food stamp raises, when they give out rent assistance, mortgage assistance, utility assistance. This is just help going out to 40 some million Americans, and they're not raising any taxes doing it. But Republican-led states and Republicans want to try to take this away as if people in their states aren't getting the help. It's not going out only to Democrats or anything along those lines. It's literally just going out to 40 some million Americans. And the problem with this is the next program could be for Social Security, could be the Social Security raise. It could be for, well, we just got a SNAP increase, which was $8 billion and a 12.5% raise, which, by the way, they just did through the USDA. Congress didn't have to approve that. Are they going to challenge that? I don't know. So it sets a bad precedence, because are we going to challenge when anybody gets help? When if it's low income, if it's seniors, if it's children, if it's child tax credits, if it's people with student loans, Are we going to try to challenge it every time somebody gets help that's not large corporations? When large corporations get help, big businesses get help, oh, that's fine. But when people get help, it's like, oh, heaven forbid, we can't do that. So let me know your thoughts here in the comments. I'll keep you up to date here on all these different type of programs and everything going on here in our country on a daily basis. So make sure to subscribe down below. Click the subscribe button. Click the bell icon. It's completely free to do so. This way you won't miss out on new videos that come out here on our YouTube channel on a daily basis. You can click here to watch my newest video next. And here's my newest video on checks that are going out to millions of Americans with a deadline of October 17th. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.